You've had cash flow problems for months. Your back is against the wall. You may need to liquidate. You may begin to look at the auction scene. Thanks for watching me here on WowBiz. My name is Hinderaker, and I'm here with Shayne, Fili, and Mark Beacom with Auction Solutions in the Omaha, Nebraska area. Shayne, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Good morning.
Hey, tell me, when is it appropriate for somebody to actually pick up the phone and call an auctioneer? Do we call too late? I mean, what should we do?
So most times companies wait just a little too late before they liquidate. They may have taken all of their withholdings for employee taxes and paid the employees, and they're in financial difficulty, having a tough time. If you call an auctioneer, we kind of can end that pain and show you light at the end of the tunnel with your assets so that you can move on to the rest of closing out your business if that's what's happening.
All right, light at the end of the tunnel. I love that phrase. Mark Beacom, tell me this. How does the process begin? Once you've got an auctioneer, how does it begin? I assume appraisals, right?
Well, you can start with an appraisal, sure, and that's a great way to find out what the value of your merchandise is. Mm-hmm. Many times a business needs to have an appraisal for the bank or for some other debtor.
And you've had a lot of training, certification, experience, and stuff like that. I mean, it's such a broad range of equipment and ideas. I mean, tell me, how do you know what things are worth?
Well, we're CAGA certified appraisers. We also do continuing education through the National Auctioneers Association, the Nebraska Auctioneers Association. We're members there. Shayne's a member of the board of the Nebraska Auctioneers Association. I'm the treasurer of the Nebraska Association.
So you're on top of all this stuff.
Absolutely.
All right. And by the way, Shayne, let me ask you this. Can you appraise digital innovations like patents and business operating models? I mean, I just don't know how you do that.
There is a way to appraise businesses and to try to find the value of an operating business. Mostly it's with the assets, but if there's intellectual property and those types of things, you can do enough research to find a variable that will give you a value.
Like a patent or something
Absolutely.
Like that. Okay, good. Mark, let me ask you this question. What do you look for when you're shopping for an auctioneer? There's obviously competition across the country. What are the 3 or 4 criterion when you really want to hone in on when you try to find somebody?
Well, I think it's important that you find somebody that's really committed to the business. You have to find a full-time auctioneer. There's a lot of part-timers, but you need a full-time auctioneer. Okay. You need somebody that's certified, somebody that's a member of their association, their national and their local associations. Those are the key points.
Okay, very good. Now, Shayne, Fili, let me ask you this. As you kind of get into it, what are the formula? What's the formula for success? What's the most important thing to begin when you're working with a good auctioneer?
When you're working with a good auctioneer, you need to make sure that they have a plan in place to liquidate your assets. That includes the marketing, online, internet, simulcast. There are a lot of different ways to get the market, to get the people, to get your auction to a successful monetary result.
Yeah, and you got to find the buyer. I'm assuming that's the beginning, and that takes a lot of advertising and some research as well. Now, once you're on site and the event is actually unfolding, Mark, tell me what's key then to really optimize and maximize results.
Well, the key to that really, Lynn, is the preparation. But the auction organization prior to the sale is critical. The auction day is very smooth once it's set up and it's advertised correctly, and you've got the right amount of people there to buy the product. Then it's just a cakewalk.
Not every man and woman work together that well, especially under pressure. Auction situations are definitely pressure situations. But Mark Beacom and Shayne, Fili seem to really get along well, and it seems to matter a lot. They extract more value. They kind of build momentum and passion. They really it's a very interesting relationship. Now, Shayne, you've talked about technology briefly, and I know that kind of separates your organization from the pack a little bit. On the event day itself, tell me about the technology platform that you use.
All right, we use an online simulcast company called ProxyBid. They're our internet portal. We like them because they are setting the industry standard with online auctions. That opens our local auction in Omaha, Nebraska to the globe. There are so many people out there who are looking for items, and we offer our items up to the world via our internet portal.
And Mark, tell me, when everything is clicking and you're utilizing the technology as Shayne has just described, what results do you get? I mean, what difference does it really make?
Well, the difference it really makes, Lynn, we've seen it. We have records. We can prove it, that we can gain about 22% on the bottom line for the auction by using the internet simulcast method.
Wow, if I were a buyer, that would make a big deal. Now, Shayne, tell me a little bit about a recent anecdote, anything that really shows how all this stuff comes together when everything works. How does it work for the buyer? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it works for the buyer in a great way. They no longer, if they're an antique buyer and someone knows that they collect a certain type of item, they can now bid online at home and have a little anonymity that keeps them a little more on a level playing field so people don't run them up. We also find that businessmen like to sit in their office and bid online for a business liquidation, and it keeps them at their desk where they're supposed to be and adding their assets as they need them at the auction.
Okay. Now, down in Bellevue, Nebraska, there was a restaurant I think that you handled recently. Tell me about how it all worked for the owner of that restaurant and the liquidation there.
Sure. When we did that auction, we talked to them about doing the intellectual property, and we actually, it was something they hadn't thought of, but we marketed the recipes and the website and the brand name of the restaurant.
Wait a minute. Now, there was a barbecue recipe floating around, and you got some money for that, right?
Oh, yeah. We got a lot of money for that. We did.
Okay.
That restaurant auction, by the time we got done with the memorabilia and the equipment and the intellectual property at that auction,
right,
the seller expected about $25,000, and we ended up selling that restaurant for about $60,000.
Wow, that greatly exceeds results, obviously. Well, Shayne Fili right here with Auction Solutions in Omaha, Nebraska. Why don't you just kind of help us understand? We've learned a lot in a short period of time. How does Auction Solutions stand out? What's their basic sales proposition here in the Omaha area?
Auction Solutions offers professionalism, technology, and the results you're looking for.
Yeah, for those three key factors for success, Mark Beacom and Shayne Fili, thank you so much for joining me here on Wow Biz. Made a huge difference. These are the people you want in your corner when your back is against the wall. Thanks for joining me on Wow Biz. I'm Lynn Hinderaker.